Another Conversations in the Void. We are back after a 2 week hiatus that we had here. We're making movies, folks. Just having such fun. But I am pleased to introduce our guest for tonight. I've been able to talk to him on a couple of times now at Days of the Dead over the past almost year now. He's finally here. Please welcome actor, composer, and writer of the Bucher Queen Student Bodies. Hopefully comes out soon. And the Bloodfest Club. Please welcome to the Void, Jim Ousley.
Hello, how's it going? Good to be here.
It's going. Like I said, it's finally back in my house. I'm excited.
It feels good to come home, doesn't it? After a crazy shoot.
Yes, and my wife has not been happy for me being gone for 2 weeks, but
Yeah, I hear you, man. But good luck.
yeah. But I only do this every year long shoots and then a couple weekends a year for movies. So it's all good.
That's not too bad. Yeah,
not too bad. So Jim, welcome. Like I said, I know we met in November because we both had tables at Days of the Dead. I know you were there earlier this year as well, and I just didn't get a table this year. But welcome.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I love Days of the Dead. It's always so much fun, and the people are so nice.
Yeah.
I think that horror fans are the nicest fans out there. They really are. They're
Oh.
so nice and easy to talk to, and they're great.
Oh yeah, like I said, I got to meet creatives like yourself. The Saints and Skulls who do the enamel pins, and we're hopefully going to be working with some for our merch because we're going back to Days of the Dead this November. So,
oh, cool. I think I will be as well. So I'll see you there.
Absolutely. So, Jim, kind of before we get into like our what I call the meat and potatoes of the show, I'd like to get a little bit more about you, and for anyone that's watching live and in the future, what really brought you into the world of horror? Do you remember like your first horror movie?
I do, yeah. As a kid, I loved the old Universal horror classics, Dracula, Frankenstein, Bride, Wolfman, all that kind of stuff. And I still love those to this day. Like I love um, The Old Dark House. That's one of my favorites. Black Cat with Karloff and Lugosi.
Yep.
Such a great subversive film, pre-code. I love that stuff. And then when I was older, I went to a kind of a get together after work to watch movies and stuff. And they had the first Nightmare on Elm Street,
Okay.
the very first one. And I just I dove in even deeper, and I've been a horror fan ever since then. I love it.
Oh yeah, Universal definitely has a soft spot in my heart. As you know, I'm tattooed on one arm completely.
Yeah.
But this one, I only have just this little bit here. What I actually want to do is a Gothic style castle with a forest that goes to a cemetery to finish off my Universal black and white sleeve.
That's perfect, man. I really want to go to that Epic Universe at Universal, the new Universal Horror Park they've got going. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Oh yeah, and did you see that coming to Chicago? They're going to have a experience.
Oh man, yes, I'm so excited about that. I read that and I was like, "Are you kidding? That's amazing!" Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah,
it's it's such a great time to be a horror fan. It really is.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember growing up, being that weird kid that liked horror movies.
Yeah,
and we were kind of ostracized. I felt like.
Oh yeah, you were kind of like people think you're strange. That why do you like that stuff? I mean, your family probably said that about you. So I got all that stuff, and I mean, to this day, when I write horror comics, I'll still get that from some family members. Like, man, you're kind of sick, aren't you? And of course, my answer is, yeah, a little bit.
Little bit.
What can I do? What can I tell you? But it's fun. It's all fun. And the great thing about horror is you could talk about all kinds of things in this genre, and it's the perfect genre to be subversive in. You know, um, like in the Atonement Bell, which was came out a couple of years ago now. It was about kind of St. Louis's problems with race relations and that kind of thing. And but you could read the Atonement Bill and not really think about that necessarily, but it's there if you're a kind of incisive enough reader. You know what I mean to understand that, and that's what I love about it.
Oh yeah, and with the Atonement Bell for sure, and also horror as you look at something from the 70s, you realize these are the fears that people had at that time period, and you convey it in horror. Satanic Panic being a huge thing in the 80s, and seeing that across the movies, across the news media and stuff like that. It's just a time piece and a capsule of society's fears, and that's why I really
and you look at like George Romero and John Carpenter and now Jordan Peele. These guys were so good at telling a great story with a big undercurrent of their thoughts on society at the time and the ills of society and how people get along, and it's really fascinating. Those are the guys that really inspire me.
And with what I'm working on right now for scripts and stuff like that, I like to inject that element of societal satire and commentary on it. And something that I'm currently working on, it's not too spoilery, but I'm saying something during COVID at this point right now.
That's
just
great.
Because it's essentially people's fears, and kind of like everyone lived at homes and there's so much fear, but what happens to a serial killer during COVID?
Oh, that's interesting. That's cool. Yeah, I can't wait to see that. Actually, now that you described it to me, that sounds pretty cool. Isn't that fun though? Isn't it fun to be able to be in a genre and tell a story that you're able to inject that kind of undercurrent with? And it could be a big metaphor, the whole story could be, or you could put little things here and there. It's so fun to work in that genre. It's so fun.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, Jim, I like to get your meters here for good and bad horror. So, in your opinion, what is the most overrated horror IP franchise that you just don't get? Like, I don't want to bash anything, but like, not every piece of horror is for everyone. Is there something you just don't understand why it's so popular?
Man, that's a really tough question. I can tell you, there's a film series called Terrifier. That's huge and it's great because they use practical effects and everything else. But I've only seen part of one movie, and the people that love it completely love it. And I love things that people put in the world and people love, that take people away from the real life terrible things that we have to deal with. But those films, I could say, are not for me personally. I'm not crazy about the killer clown thing, and tons of gore over an emotional story. And that's just me. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It, you know.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think it's overrated because it's a huge success.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say it's overrated,
Yeah. I mean, it's. I think they've gotten gradually worse.
Okay.
And that's the and to me, I really hate saying it, because especially with Leon being the independent horror guy, he got the budget, but are we lacking the story that's behind it? Yes, to me, it's a callback to 80s slashers, and that's why I enjoy it, because it's practical effects. We're bringing that to the forefront, and honestly, he created the next slasher. We finally got the next big bad after. I mean, probably the last one we had Jigsaw, sure, but people really go to Billy the clown for that, and even Hatchet was probably the last big new slasher icon. It's been about 20
years. It
years.
wasn't nearly as big as Art the Clown. Yeah. I mean, I love 80s slashers. I'm a huge 80s slashers guy. I'm kind of working on something right now that's kind of my version of a slasher, But maybe I should watch the Terrifiers. You think I should watch them? And
I think you should watch them at least once. It's. I think they're good. It's something that I would strive to be able to do with our movies for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing the small budgets and the huge return that those guys get from these films. It's pretty remarkable.
Oh, it is. I mean, yeah, it
took more power to them.
Took 4 3 shorts and then the movie to actually get traction, but he kept trying that, so you can't fault him for that.
I mean, he kept his vision and his focus, and that's awesome. The kind of horror that I like. Well, I'll let you ask the questions.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
will.
So I kind of want to see the flip side, though. What is kind of, in your opinion, the most underrated horror thing out there that you just go, wait, you've never seen this? I'm going to make you watch this right now.
Oh, well, as far as type of film, I don't know, but there's a one of my favorite films is called The Woman in Black,
Hmm.
and it was made. The remake had Daniel Radcliffe in it from the Harry Potter films,
Yeah.
but the original was a BBC production
Hmm.
that was a made-for-TV movie, and it is really it sustains this fantastic creepy atmosphere, and it's so good. It's just a great. It's one of those movies where, kind of like with the classic Universal horror films, where you just kind of you wish you could just walk inside the screen and just look around, you
Hmm.
know. But it's really super unsettling as well and scary, and I love it. I always recommend that movie to people.
Oh, it's gothic horror at it's a gothic ghost story essentially, right?
Yeah, I love a good ghost story. Like
Yeah,
the movie Ghost Story. I love that movie with um, uh, Fred Astaire and John Houseman and
yeah.
Melvin Douglas. Yeah,
Oh yeah, and I think that's what we're missing a lot in movies is that good ghost story. It's few and far between now. Everything used to be
yeah,
ghosts, and then we got back, and then we got let's call it the creepy jump scare ghosts that we got with 13 Ghosts and the remake of
yeah.
House on Haunted Hill, and that's became
Perfect. Yeah.
like the fast scary ghost, but instead of just the creepiness aesthetic feel of like it makes you like I don't want to take out garbage tonight. No, no, I'm not doing that.
Well, there was actually, there was an American, there was the American lady, Woman in Black,
Hmm.
and then there was a Woman in Black 2, and Woman in Black 2 was actually really good. I thought it was like an atmospheric ghost story, and that's kind of my personal jam. I don't mind a slow burn,
Yeah.
um, as long as it's done really well,
Did you enjoy?
atmospherically.
Did you join Crimson Peak?
I did like that. I love the director, Guillermo del Toro. It's not my favorite one by him, but visually, I thought it was stunning, and I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I saw it in the theater, especially
Yeah,
because it's just so pretty to look at. You know,
for sure. All right, Jim. So let's
but I
kind of
love a
get.
good slow burn.
Oh yeah, yes, absolutely. But speaking of stuff like that, how did you get into writing? I have to know. Is this something you kind of just grew up with? I know you've been writing for a while
Well, I when I was a kid,
now.
so I would do like I had a bunch of ventriloquist dolls, and for whatever reason, I was obsessed with ventriloquism. So, with my ventriloquist dolls and my puppets, I would go around doing shows at like county fairs and for school, and
Mhm.
I did a couple like nun convents. The nuns were really into that, and I made a little bit of money, play money doing that, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. But I had to write little sketches for it. And then when I was older, I got into bands, and no one wanted to write lyrics, so I started writing the lyrics for the band along with the music that I did.
Hmm.
And then from there, I started writing for a local entertainment, like music magazine,
Yeah.
and I did like reviews and interview profiles and that kind of thing. And then me and my buddy were in a theater company called Magic Smoky Monkey Theater here in St. Louis,
Okay.
and they're an offshoot of St. Louis Shakespeare, who we also work for. And they did like late night, like Ed Wood things and stuff like that.
Ooh.
And we had so much fun doing that with our friends. We really wanted to sort of like um, kind of capture all of our friends on film.
Hmm.
So we co-wrote a screenplay called Hooch and Daddy-O, which is it's a mockumentary about a really violent cop show in the
Yep.
80s. And you can actually see it on Tubi. Um, and that was the first screenplay, and we wrote a couple more, and then I wrote a couple more. And then a buddy of mine invited me to this thing called Ink and Drink Comics here in St. Louis, which is a comic collective that gets artists together with writers. They meet once a year or not once a year, once a month at a bar,
Okay.
and they publish two themed anthologies a year. And so that's where I really fell in love with comics, and that's kind of like my favorite thing to do now is write comics.
Hmm. I mean,
Love it.
were you a big comic fan as a kid, or is really that meeting that really made you enamored with the comic book world?
Oh no, I've always loved comics. You know, but when I was a kid, I loved DC's House of Mystery. You know, their
Mhm.
horror title.
Yeah,
I love Batman, of course, and uh, Spidey and all those guys. But yeah, I was a big comic fan growing up. But I did, you know, like so many things. You know, you probably have gone through this as well. Like when you're a kid, you think, "Oh, I wish I could." What's it like? I love movies so much. What's it like to be in one, or what's it like to write one? And I was like that with film and comics and music, and I just wanted to get involved, to
right.
dive in and see what it was like, you know, as an adventure, you know.
Yeah,
And I love all of it.
yeah. I remember being 12 years old, just seeing the first not TV Halloween movie, which was The Curse of Michael Myers. I
Oh,
did. I actually
yeah,
got to see Halloween unedited for the first time. My first one was Curse of Michael Myers, and my friends and we made our own sketches of how we our own Michael Myers stories, our own Halloween stories with Dr. Loomis and stuff like that with our camcorders.
oh,
We
nice.
recorded it. I wish I still
Yeah.
had those. I don't know where they
Oh,
went,
yeah,
but that kind of made me enamored with it. And I was playing, mid '90s D&D, and so being creative and writing and stuff like that. And then we went into
yeah.
backyard wrestling because D&D goes into backyard wrestling really well. I don't know if most people do that transition, but we did. But it's still impromptu.
That's a hard right turn, but yeah,
It is, but it's still, you're writing your characters, you're still making your characters, still telling a story. So it's just a different way of doing that. And then I started writing sketches and skits in 2007, putting stuff on YouTube. And I go, you know what? This YouTube's not going anywhere. I'm going to back away for 15 years. Stupid me.
so
Should have
wise.
continued. Yeah. I'm like, only 10 minutes. This is never going to be a viable format. But
It's amazing.
about 4 years ago, though, well, before COVID, actually, I started making videos again for video games, and then doing the
Oh, okay.
show stuff like that. I got introduced to the horror dads, and I've been running full force ahead for years
That's
now.
awesome, man. It's funny, isn't it, how you just little by little you gain traction and
Mhm.
you get more confident and doing any of this stuff is kind of a confidence game anyway, you know.
Yeah,
You just have to believe in yourself enough and get that experience behind you and you find yourself doing good work. You know,
yeah,
that's what matters, you know.
yeah. I took four.
And
I
the
took
great thing
4 years.
about it is
Yeah,
was that
I said I took 4 years of theater and drama in high school too, so I learned
oh wow,
all that
yeah.
stuff.
It's great, you know, and the best thing about it is, you know, you're probably like this too. The best part of doing what we do is just being able to put something out in the world that makes people happy.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? That every day when I wake up, I think, what can I do today? What can I make out of nothing that will make somebody happy or entertained or give them something to think about?
Right. Yeah.
And that's what's great about being a creative,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh yeah, I said I probably have done, I in 2023 I did 7 to 8 live shows a week on YouTube. So
You got to
I
be
did a lot.
exhausted.
It is very exhausting. My wife goes, no, no more. I'm like, all right. So I cut back
Yeah,
to like 2 or 3 a week. But it's that creative outlet and just being really back in front of a camera because in theater and drama I went behind the camera. I learned the lighting, sound, the set design, directing, and writing. And I'm like, I like it behind the camera, but now I'm
sure.
back in front of it. I'm the face of our show, and so
Yeah,
I gotta be out there again.
you do a good job. I mean, I used to be really, really focused on the performative arts, you know,
Mhm.
but now I just really enjoy writing. It just through the years, that's kind of where I've landed and where I feel I'm kind of most comfortable and that I have the most to give, I think, is doing that.
Right. And that's cool too. I know you're working on, or at least your IMDb says student bodies. Is that your 80s slasher that you're kind of working on?
Yeah, it is. It was. We had we had the script options, me
Okay.
and my writing partner on that one, and you know, it's one of those things where I don't know if it'll ever get made. I've got two other screenplays I wrote myself that are in the process of being optioned right now. And you know how it is. It's like the business. It's amazing that films ever get made. There's so many things working against you all the
Yep.
time. So um, I'm just happy for the opportunities to work with some of the people that I'm working with and just trying to enjoy that and learn. And
Hmm.
that's kind of the work is its own reward ultimately. You know,
Oh yeah.
that's kind of the key to happiness, I think, is that kind of mindset for me.
Hmm.
So yeah,
That's
but yeah, student bodies. I don't know if that will ever happen, but we'll see.
yeah, yeah. That's I hope so. I really do. I love if that, especially if that's the '80s slasher. Sounds like it might be. I love it.
Yeah, it's a horror comedy, and it's very
Okay.
inspired by those movies, and yeah,
Hmm.
for sure. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So I mean, for you, what's the kind of like? Is your process same whether you're writing a comic book versus a screenplay, even versus a song lyric?
It's actually, it's all surprisingly different, and it really boils down to formatting. How you write a comic script is very different than how you'd write a film script.
Hmm.
There's this different formatting rules and things that you need in each one that the other doesn't have.
Yeah.
And so it's actually kind of fun to go back and forth because it's hard to get bored when you have to put yourself into different mindsets, not just for the story, but for the format of what you're doing. Like for screenplays, I use Final Draft,
Hmm.
which is the industry standard, of course, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then for comic scripts, I tend to use Word and format it myself. Um, it just feels more freeing to me to do it that way. Um, but in comics, there's a lot of different ways to do scripts. In film, it's Final Draft for the most part, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but it's all different.
Yeah. With your comics, do you find yourself having to be more descriptive then to give it to your artists to then draw?
Yeah, kind of. I always like to be. I always love it to be collaborative because that's the fun of doing it is collaborating with an artist who
Hmm.
has a different aesthetic mindset than you do. So I obviously do the dialogue and I plot it out. Excuse me, I'm having trouble with my voice today. I don't know why. I guess I was talking a lot over the weekend, and but I try to put a lot of description in there for what I want the panels to look like and the characters
Hmm.
and the places, but I never want to overdo it, like I'm telling them what to do, because from my perspective, we're both creating this together and we should just meet each other halfway, I
Right.
think.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how I like to work doing
Yeah.
that.
Now, are you ever? I know you're working on stuff. Do you ever have that issue? Being, is this going to be a comic book versus a screenplay when you're writing it out?
Um, it's hard to say. I mean, I've been working on more comics for the past few years,
Hmm.
just because that's what I love. But like I'm working on a screenplay now for someone who is a known guy, and it was his idea, and he wanted me to write the screenplay for him, and that was fun because I've never done anything like that. Someone else's idea and me running with it essentially.
Yeah, fleshing it out. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and the other one is actually based on the Atonement Bell. I finished the screenplay for that back in November, and that's kind of being shopped around right now.
Hmm.
So it just, I think it just depends on what the job is. Like if you're like right now, I work with Red Five Comics and I work with John Carpenter's Storm King Comics, and so if it's a comic thing, you're going to write a comic. You know, if someone approaches you about a screenplay idea or you have an idea that's more suited for film, you do that.
Hmm.
But I really like the freedom of comics because with screenplays too, you don't ever know if it's going to happen. Like the public doesn't really read those things.
Right.
Whereas when you do a comic or a graphic novel, your audience is going to be able to buy it and read it and enjoy it. Definitely.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing for me is, and there's no budget like in comics and graphic novels. You can imagine anything you want to, and the sky's the limit to
Hmm.
what you could do. Really.
Right.
Um, so yeah, they're very different, surprisingly different. And with lyric writing, it's kind of like that because you're pacing. There's a certain rhythm to it,
Hmm.
so it's kind of connected, but also very different.
Yeah.
You
I,
know,
with the other show I want to get you on, Disconcerting, that I do, there's a lot more comic book stuff too. And what I found interesting is a lot of people have wrote screenplays and realize I need $1 million to make this movie happen. And then they tweak it and then make it a comic instead.
oh yeah, and that's a big thing now. I think that there's a lot of that. There's a lot of films being made from graphic novels, and
Mm-hmm.
and I think and I think this is kind of a mistake. Is that I mean, you could do that, but I think if you're writing a graphic novel, you should go into it like you just want to make a good graphic novel or a great comic series.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you should write a comic or graphic novel so that you can make it into a film. You know what I mean? From
Yeah.
my perspective, it's better just to do your best story and do the best work you possibly can and let the cards fall where they may. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if you're producing a film, you say, okay, to get more money, we should make a comic book version. I can see that as well. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. And that's something that we're hopefully going to kick off here with Horror Dads, the team I'm part of, is
Mhm.
we're indie horror, right? And we
Yeah.
realizing a lot of the stories, yeah, we're hearing by our budget, but I'm like, what if we have this world this universe that we built? What if we take existing characters and make comics out of them to have
Yeah.
ideas and go, hey, we already have 15 movies done, but here's our piece of work, a proof of concept for the next story
Yeah.
we want to tell.
And it's great. And that's, what's great about that is that it's something that, instead of reading a script, it could be part of a lookbook where you have that comic and it's basically like your storyboards but cooler, because it's a comic and it's more fun. And that's, to me, that'd be an easier way to get someone excited about a project, is
Yeah,
doing it that way.
yeah.
So
That,
yeah, I
that,
totally see that. Yeah.
that's what we want to do. So for stuff that we don't have the budget for right now, we can draw it or get people to draw it for us and have that graphic, gory violence that we really want.
Right, yeah. Yeah. And just something that captures the aesthetic and the flavor of what you're after,
Mhm.
it's perfect for that. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's
I
something I've
agree.
been talking to my co-host and producer. I'm like, hey, it should be Graveyard in Salem, enter the B horrorverse, and it's just us sucked into just B horror movies and realizing we're stuck in it, and just how we get through it, and just
Great.
just
That's a good idea. That's fun.
just on this side of copyright infringement.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. You got to watch out for that. I mean, that's, you know, nothing to mess around with for sure. But that sounds like a really fun idea, man. It really
Yeah,
does.
because my co-host, he loves to write, and he's been writing forever. So we're working on scripts, working on a movie trilogy right now. That hopefully to film the first one here next year. Fingers crossed.
Awesome. Yeah.
And
Now, do you guys do crowdfunding for those films or
yeah,
how do you guys do that?
yeah, Indiegogo.
Okay, cool.
So
Have you guys had success with that? And is that
yeah,
format? Yeah.
that the one that we just shot 2 weeks ago was through Indiegogo, and it's just this is why the community is great, especially the horror community and the indie horror community. It's we're creators making it for people that love horror. We don't have the
Yeah.
budget, but we're getting some money, which is more than we could ever really put up front necessarily ourselves right now.
Right. Yeah.
You
I
know,
hear you. And the same way with comics, that's the same way. They require, art that's expensive and,
hmm
the whole thing. So that's great. I love to see your stuff, man. I'm excited to see it.
yeah,
I really am.
I'm super excited. I'm kicking off next month or August. Decades of horror. We're going to do horror shorts in the style and genre of that particular decade. We're starting in the 1920s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we are
That
going to
sounds
have
really
this.
cool.
We're going to have the sepia tone silent movie made in
Oh,
2025 or
I
short.
love that, man. That sounds right up my alley. That
Yeah,
sounds really cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I started this project and we're finally kicking it off, and we're just going to do shorts. And we're doing 1920s to 2020s, and with every short combined, it'll be a feature length. So
Oh my God. That's incredible. What a cool idea. I mean, we're lucky to live in this age, right? Where
mhm,
we have the technology to do these things and to share these things with our audience.
yeah,
It's a really great time to be a creative who's alive and
oh yeah,
enjoying this period. Yeah.
yeah. And I definitely picked the 1930s because I want the Universal style movie, and that one's mine.
Oh, a man after my own heart. I love it.
Uh,
That's my favorite era for that style, the older horror films, the 1930s for me is where it's at.
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm doing
I went to see it, dude.
Yeah, I'm doing a Jack the Ripper-esque short of it. And I actually did research of something that happened that's like Jack the Ripper in England, and it's a story that's never been told.
Really?
In
Okay.
media. It's stupid. I'll tell you right now. It's the ass stabber. It's about a guy that literally went around stabbing beautiful women in the ass, to the point where some women were wearing metal pants to not get stabbed, and other women were like, "Oh, they clearly found me pretty," and they stabbed themselves in the ass to say that the ass stabber got them.
My God, man, you got to keep in touch and let me know when you do that. That's so great.
I'm like, that's hilarious, and it's Jack the Ripper, but the ass stabber. So yeah,
And that's a true story.
Yeah.
Wow, that's nuts. What a world.
But you know what? That's what we're doing, and like I said, I'm excited. We determined 2020s was either going to be woke horror or legacy horror as the defined genre for this decade so far.
Yeah, that sounds amazing, man. Please keep in touch and let me know
absolutely
how it's going. And
yeah. All right, so Jim, I know we're coming up in time, so let's get into some of these difficult questions for you. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Practical or CGI?
Practical all the way.
Yeah.
I'm a practical guy all the way. I mean, CGI should be something that's used in a very minimal fashion. There's nothing wrong with it, but if you use it too much, it's like it takes the fun out of it for me.
Yeah, we will be putting bad CGI in our 90s decade of horror, sure.
Of course, you have to, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that was the era for bad CGI for sure. Yeah,
but we're almost episode 100 of the show, and only 2 people have said CGI. 2.
Wow,
One,
that's
because that's
amazing.
his job.
Yeah,
He did CGI for Smile, and then Bruce Valanche.
Really?
Yeah.
Bruce Valanche. You know Bruce Valanche?
Yeah.
That's incredible. He's the writer guy, right? With the crazy hair and the glasses. Yeah.
He said CGI.
He co-wrote
yeah. I'm like, you said CGI. I'm like, I'm very shocked. He's an old school guy too.
That's surprising. Yeah. I mean, I love practical. Like John Carpenter's The Thing, and I mean, come on, that's great stuff.
Yeah. I wish I had the budget to get someone to do stuff like that with one of our movies.
Yeah, I know it's so expensive. I know it requires a certain budget level. I totally get that. Yeah.
So, so Jim, if you were able to, someone knocked on your door and said, "Here's $1 million, create the next entry in this existing franchise," what would your ideal one be?
Oh gosh, and like an established franchise. Well, Halloween is probably my favorite franchise, but it wouldn't be that for a lot of reasons. I'm This is probably a hot take at this point. I really enjoyed David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy, to the very first Halloween.
Yeah.
So I would probably, what I would probably do would be um, Nightmare on Elm Street, because it's been so long of a time, and I wasn't a big fan of the remake.
No.
And I think it'd be really fun to do a brand new film that recalled that history, had that with it, but also told a surprising story. I think that'd be such a fun challenge to do that. So I guess probably that. But I mean, you could ask me tomorrow, and I would have another different answer. Yeah, I love all this stuff, so that's probably my answer, though. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been saying since day one here, Nightmare on Elm Street is mine go-to. I already have the story idea in my head. I'll tell you it because it's never going to happen. Yeah. But the rise of sleep apnea, the rise of sleep paralysis, it's all Freddy Krueger.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good concept. Yeah.
And he's so weakened because it's been so long that he is creating the shadow people that people see. He is, the idea of the incubus and succubus that people have had throughout history, and people not being able to breathe. It's all Freddy.
That's a really fun idea, and the movie shows how he overcomes that, gains power, and starts
Yep.
his shenanigans. Yeah,
Yep.
that's now. Did you do like a full outline for that?
That's I knew I wanted to do something with like sleep paralysis for a while now, but
Yeah,
since doing this show for about 2 years now, I've been asking this question for almost 100 times, and I got asked it back, and that's why I go, you know what? That's why I do. We wouldn't get the reveal of Freddy until the very end, that he comes
oh,
back
okay,
into full force. Because why else do we have the rise of all this sleep problems that we have, if
right.
not for him trying to get back into our world?
Oh, that's great. That's really cool. I like that. That's cool.
I wish
I'm
I could
sorry
make
about my
it.
cough. Yeah, it would take a few million probably
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
that. But I have apologies.
No worries.
I had to drink water, went down the wrong pipe. So I'm sorry my coughing interrupted
Oh, no
your
worries.
story, but I was able to hear it. I love it. Yeah,
Yeah, that's why I do. That's why he's so shadowy. It's just because he's the shadow of himself.
that's great. That's cool. I hope you can make it. I'll watch it.
I hope so. Maybe I'll do the fan film and make it happen. That's all I can do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what I do with Friday night. I kind of start out with an outline,
Mhm.
and I just keep detailing it and detailing it until it's almost like a script. And then when I write the script, it becomes that much easier because I've got so much to draw on.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, Jim, any advice for people getting into the field, whether it's comic book writing or filmmaking or even music?
Mhm. My advice would be 1 second, I'm sorry. I wish I could mute this for your
Oh, no
listeners.
worries.
Okay. Whew. My advice would be to, it's one thing to have an idea, as you know,
Mhm.
it takes a whole other energy and discipline to finish it. You have to make sure that you give yourself that time and sorry,
It's all right.
um, you have to keep that in mind when you're working on something. It's really fun to be flush with a new idea, but you have to remember that just having an idea isn't really enough. You've got to have the discipline to finish it, share it, and then have the energy and discipline to promote it.
Mhm.
Those are all important things that need attention. So
Yeah.
that's
That,
my advice. Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah. Like I said, and you do that by going to these cons, by going to these shows. It's you have to put
Yeah.
yourself out there, and I would also say you have to be very, very thick-skinned.
Yes, you do. Yeah. You can't be afraid of rejection. When I send my editor a script, I say, give me all the notes you have.
Hmm.
I love notes because that will make me better and make the story better. So let me have it.
Exactly.
Let's bring it on. I
All
love
right.
it.
All right, Jim, it's free. Ready for your random horror trivia question?
Oh man. Okay. I think I'm about to embarrass myself, but go ahead.
All right. What does the killer wear in the 2001 film Valentine?
Oh gosh. I don't think I saw that. Um,
David Boreanaz.
yeah, I definitely didn't see it. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
I failed. I failed.
Yeah, it's one of those like underrated. I wouldn't say underrated slashes, but a forgotten slash of the early 2000s in that like
Okay.
PG-13 era of horror that we
Oh
had.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. You
Would
recommend it though?
once, once,
Okay. That's fair. Okay.
yeah.
What did he
Um,
wear?
a Cupid's mask.
Oh, see, it seems so obvious now, but I couldn't lie to you though. I didn't see it, so now I've got to see it. So thank
Yeah,
you.
of course. Yeah, my wife and I watch it every once in a while. Um, but I don't just watch a movie once and forget it. Typically, I rewatch it. I have many movies on repeat. Every Halloween, I watch all the Halloweens.
I do the same thing, man. Yeah, it's almost like I do the same thing. I watch the same movie a lot. if I like it enough to see it in the theater and then buy it, it'll be one that I watch quite a bit. It's almost like um, comfort food in a way. It just feels good to enjoy it,
Yeah.
a few times, and yeah, why
Yeah.
not?
Exactly. And that's why we do the other show. We do the other podcast where we review horror movies because we like to go back and rewatch everything or all the stuff that we missed growing up because we're old men. And if the mom and pop VHS store didn't have it, you didn't get to see it.
Right. Yeah. That whole era was so fun because you kind of picked a movie by how weird and cool the cover was,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a kind of a magic time that younger people who didn't have that experience, kind of missed out on. I mean, they have other experiences that we didn't have,
Yeah.
too. So it's all relative. But yeah, that was a fun time. The video stores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I actually think that the way that we were able to do it with streaming now, it's the same way. You only have that 2 sentence clip on it, and you still have so many options. It's
Yeah, that's
it's a,
true.
it's a new version of it, and then people get
That's true.
lost. People get lost browsing for a movie to watch, and that's the downfall. It's
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like I could spend and I have done this, like spend 45 minutes looking for what to watch. And then it's like, well, it's time for bed because I spent my whole time looking for something to watch. So, but yeah, you're right. That's interesting. Yeah, that's kind of like being in a digital video store, I guess. Yeah,
yeah. All right, Jim.
that's
So
cool.
before we head off, give us all your pluggals. Where can people find you and follow you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter or X at Jim Ousley. Um, I'm on Blue Sky at whatever that is, Blue Sky, Jim Ousley, but it's, you can search my
Yeah,
name and
yeah.
hopefully I'll come up. Um, and I'm on Instagram and Threads at radio_Jimbo. And that's where people can find me.
Awesome, awesome. Anything else you want to promote before we sign off? Anything upcoming?
Uh, yeah, there's, I don't know if I can announce it yet, but I can tell you. So I've got a story with Ben Sawyer, who's my artist in the John Carpenter's Tales for a Halloween Night, Volume 11. That comes out in September. And I'm really super excited about that because I'm a huge John Carpenter fanboy, and just being in that world just a tiny bit in the corner is awesome. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, I would, if you can check out the Atonement Bell. It was our Eisner nominated book that came out a couple of years ago. It's still out there, and I recommend that to your viewers. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah, I have links to all that down below in the description. So really, people check out Jim and his work. I've been able to see it up close and personal. Once my life gets settled down, it's going to be added to my indie comic book creator list over here. That's
Oh, awesome!
if
That's
not, I'll
great,
see
man.
you.
Thank you.
Nothing else. I'll see you in November. Remind me then too.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll bug you there. I
Exactly.
promise. I'll harass you.
And maybe you'll get to hug Salem if you see him.
I would love it. He better get ready. He's got a big one coming.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you, Jim, so much for coming
Okay,
on.
man.
Hope you had a good time.
I had a great time, man. Thank you so much for inviting me. This was really fun. Thank you.
Awesome. And for anyone new, make sure to follow us on all social media at PodOutatNight, where we're posting all the new stuff and all this indie horror shorts that we're working on. I'm excited for the world to see really decades of horror. So,
Yeah, that's awesome.
all right. We'll see you next
Watch
time.
it all.
All right. Don't get lost in the void. Good night.